Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Grow Your Practice podcast. My name is Lachlan Hetherington, and I have the special privilege of chatting with Karen today, who is the owner of Melbourne Hand Rehab. How are you going today, Karen?
Hi, Lockie. I'm very well. Thank you.
That's awesome to hear. Now, you don't mind if I ask you a couple of introduction questions so we can all get to know you a little bit more?
No, far away.
Awesome. Okay, so who inspires you?
Well, I would say I've got a lot of sources of inspiration, but personally, I would probably say my children, particularly my two daughters, who inspired me in my career. I really wanted to role model to them that you could be a mum and also have a very fulfilling career. So they've really inspired me in that personal way. In terms of work life, I would say that the clinic mastery team who have been mentoring me for the last couple of years have really inspired me enormously in my leadership journey and helped me to create, a clinic that the clinic that I wanted to have, and have supported me through the tough times, I suppose, of the last couple of years, and really inspired me to be and the clinic to be really better than I thought was even possible. So I would have to, say them.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I've heard pretty good things from Clinic Mastery because I was with a meeting with someone else that was a part of that today. Now, the third question, what is your main hobby currently?
Well, my main hobby is golf.
Golf, yes.
Very time consuming, massive challenge, but it's wonderful to get out in the fresh air.
Yeah, amongst the nature as well. And your dream location to travel to?
Oh, we're looking forward to a trip to the Kimberley. So we've had that up in WA, north end of WA. We're really looking forward to walking around all the beautiful waterfalls and gorges and things up there. But of course, like everyone else, those plans have been put on hold, hopefully much longer.
Yeah. And for the final one, where'd you grow up?
I grew up here in Melbourne in a family area, Bulleen-Templestowe.
Okay, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's all I've got for you. That's been really interesting. Now, I'd love to sort of talk to you on how you got into the space. What was the real journey of, what did you want to be growing up, and your sort of journey through to getting into hand therapy?
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's funny. I didn't really know what I wanted to be growing up. For a little bit of time, I thought it would be fantastic to be a car mechanic. I think I was just interested in how everything worked. But leaving school, at school I was very good at, my best subjects were science and maths. And I was also very, very sporty. And so I think, when a girlfriend mentioned physiotherapy, I thought that would be a really good combination for my skills and also just to be able to work with people. And so that's how I really got into physiotherapy.
Yeah, awesome.
Just scraped in. It was much easier those days. I don't know how I'd go today, but managed to get there.
Okay, nice. So when you graduated, did you go straight into the private health sector, or did you go into the public?
So when I first graduated, I did go into the public health system, and back then there was a hospital called Prince Henry's Hospital here in Melbourne, and it was one of the first places that had a hand surgery unit, because that was really a specialty in surgery that was just new. And so I was introduced to hand therapy then. And after I did that rotation, I did not want to do anything else. I thought, this is what I want to do. And I just went chasing it from there on, because the hospital closed down shortly after. And so I had to really be very determined, because there were very few opportunities for physiotherapists in hand therapy at that time. Most of the work was done by occupational therapists in Melbourne. And so I searched around and just tried very hard to get a role that involved hand therapy in various public hospitals. Yeah, I started at Western, and I had a role there for a year or two, and I didn't get a lot there, but the plastics unit and the occupational therapist saw most of the hands, but I did manage to get enough to keep me going through emergency and orthopedic team. And from there, I then, to try and get more into the hands, I got a job at St. V's, and that was really the turning point for me, because they had a big hand unit. I was the first physio that they had ever had on the unit, and I worked there part-time, and I worked at Paran Sports Medicine Centre as well, just getting some sports, doing all the hands there that came through the sports clinic. And I was very happy there for a number of years, just getting experience in all aspects of hand therapy.
Yeah, wow. So what was that point where you pivoted into the private health sector?
So because the job at St. V's was only part-time, one of the physios I'd worked with at Prince Henry's got me a job basically at Paran in their sports medicine centre. So that was private, that clinic. And so that was my first little foray into the private system.
Yeah, wow. Okay. And you were there for how long till that sort of moment where it clicked that you wanted to have a crack at starting your own practice?
Well, that moment never really came, actually. I was very, my journey into clinic ownership was entirely unintentional. And, I was seeing a lot of the clients from one of the chief orthopedic surgeon at the Western Hospital had kept me as his hand therapist. So he would send me his private clients to Paran. And one day he said, it is a long way for the clients to come. Would you be interested in seeing my private clients at the hospital where I work in Brunswick? And I was quite honoured, and so I agreed to do that. And he said, well, that's good, because I've organised the room with the hospital, and actually your first client's next Thursday. So is that all right with you?
Yeah.
And so it was all very unintentional, but it worked out very well, because, at that time in the public hospitals, I don't know what it's like now, but we were very understaffed, and, we couldn't really, I think that I became more fulfilled as a clinic owner ultimately, because you could, see people and provide level of care that wasn't always available at the public system. We didn't have many appointments available. Sometimes people would be waiting a week or two to see me with quite significant injuries. And so for me, I always wanted to provide the best level of care. And these people had obviously, having a hand injury, it's quite a devastating sort of situation to find yourself in. And so it provided me with the opportunity to provide a level of care that I was, very happy with.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so it was a complete coincidence. And so how long were you there? Until you hired your first employee? Were you on by yourself for quite a while, and then sort of clicked that you needed to bring someone on?
I started with one of the OTs. So we started off as a pair, and then we just very slowly, like, I know that a lot of clinics have grown very quickly, and I didn't. My initial business partner decided to go her own way and do her own thing. And so I just did it myself for a long, long time. I had small children, and I was in no rush. I really did prioritise the family, and I was very part-time, and it just gradually grew. And that's really been the story of Melbourne Hand Rehab. It's just grown very slowly and very steadily for 30 years now. And I was comfortable with that. I had it was different to a lot of people, but I just never wanted to really put the kids in childcare. It was just had to stumble along until my children were in their late primary years, and that's when it really started to grow then.
Yeah, wow. Okay. And I'd love to hear how you've made your practice really unique in your industry.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think probably my hand therapy clinic was one of the first to have both physios and OTs working together. And I really felt like working together was better and that we would get the best client outcomes if we had a combination of physios and OTs. And so that's probably one unique thing about Melbourne Hand Rehab, is that we started, and we've been like that right from the start. Nowadays, I think perhaps what sets us apart, or is a big focus for us, is the client experience.
Yeah.
And we really, right from the start, right from the very first phone call through to the end of rehab, we try to focus on having amazing client experience through the whole journey. And also just to make it, it's not a pleasant situation to find yourself in, needing hand therapy. So we try and make that as pleasant as possible, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Now, I'd love to touch on marketing, because obviously I'm in that space in the health industry, and I'd love to hear what you've done in regards with marketing.
Well, I had no business skills at all when I started. In fact, it's shocking when I reflect back. We didn't even have our own phone number for about 5 years before we even got in the phone book. So we really, when I say I had no business skills, I really didn't. But, one of the school mums set us up with a logo and a website. And so that was probably the first part of the marketing that we did. And we spend a lot of time making sure that it's updated and really shows our professional face. That was probably the first bit of marketing, as well as obviously getting our number in the phone book.
Yeah.
But probably with COVID as well, we've really been doing a lot more in the social space. We've had to really try and show our personality. And so we use Facebook and Instagram to show people who we are and what we do, obviously with the goal for to show people who need us that they're in the right place, and really demonstrate our personality, who we are, what's going to happen when you come in. And so we've all been putting ourselves really a little bit out of our comfort zone. Particularly through COVID, we felt like we needed to reach our audience. And so we started doing a lot of videoing and getting comfortable speaking to a camera, and things that therapists are not traditionally very comfortable doing.
Oh yeah, used to. Yeah, because I think I saw that across the whole industry, that I think COVID was a real eye-opener for a lot of businesses, because they're just like, everyone's in lockdown and they're using their phones, and they're all on their phones and searching stuff. And I think it's just like, we need to really work on that. So that's been really interesting. Now, I'd love to touch on how you sort of kept your head above water and just did well over COVID and really navigated through that.
Yeah, that's been an interesting time. We have navigated ourselves through it. We still are. Well, we were very quick with the telehealth, and once again, I have to say that we had a lot of systems in place. So when COVID arrived, we were already doing telehealth. We were all set up for it, and we had already started doing telehealth with clients from overseas, etc., like Australians who found themselves in other countries. So we didn't have to relearn. We were already doing it. So that was very lucky. Our entire business was in the cloud. We had cameras, and we'd already practiced with our communication skills online. So that was helpful. And we basically just made a lot of videos, and we communicated with our clients through in the most personal way that we could. So we would phone people, we called every client, we gave little practice telehealths, we sent video messages to people, we filmed ourselves and sent personalised messages with little YouTube clips to everybody, and we spent a lot of time on newsletters and socials.
Yeah, wow.
And I'm very proud of the team because it was not easy, but we were able to continue everybody's journey and recovery and rehab safely through that whole period. And we all kept our jobs and we remained open. And through challenging times, we managed to navigate it.
Yeah, wow. That's interesting. Yeah, because I've heard that some people like telehealth and some just don't at all. They just prefer not to obviously use it. Now, I'd love to ask, how many staff do you have? And I'd love to hear how you go about managing all of that.
Well, there's quite a few of us now. We've got 20 hand therapists. We're across 12 sites. I mean, it sounds like a lot, but 4 post-surgical clinics where we work with the surgeons and the nursing and their admin quite closely on those days. And we've got 7 standalone and 1 little satellite clinic. So we've probably got about 8 admin team. So
wow.
My focus as a leader is really trying to maintain the culture, I suppose, and we've got a really good culture. And I suppose we do that by committing to very regular communications with each other. And we have Slack and we have a wins channel and we have a culture channel, and we all post on that very regularly, and as well as our really strong mentoring team. I suppose it's an assortment of those things, but really and we're all across our very strong values, and we follow those through whatever we do, and we all kind of we're all on the same pathway.
Yeah.
We've got 6 clinic directors across the clinics, and I work with the clinic directors and they work with their teams, and we all come together with social events, and I think it's through having a good culture and having people aligned to the vision and the values that as a whole we all work together.
Yeah, that's okay. Interesting.
And we kind of have a lot of fun as well. Like we go to comedy shows and
okay, yeah, awesome. Yeah.
Always posting funny things, and we just manage to we all know each other very well.
Yeah.
Even though we're in different sites.
Yeah, so it's all like you've got a little community basically. So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. It does feel like that. It's an amazing team that we've got, and I'm actually very inspired also by the team at Melbourne Hand Rehab, the work that everyone does and pulls together. And it's, definitely the case that we together achieve a lot more than I could ever achieve on my own. I'm very interested in everybody's input, and I value it, and because it is very valuable. Everyone's got a different way of looking at things, and it just enriches the entire experience.
Yeah, okay, nice. Now, I'd love to ask you, if you had to start over, what would you do differently?
Well, I think I am pleased with the journey in the sense that I've followed my own path and I've done what's felt right, just slow and steady. That's fitted in with the family. But looking back, I mean, in the beginning, you don't have much money for outside help and mentoring, but I think I would have read more books. I think that I would have made a lot less mistakes going through the journey if I'd read a lot of the fantastic leadership books that are available.
Okay.
Yeah, and that would be what I would recommend to someone starting.
Yeah. Or that was going to be my next question. I said, if you had to recommend anyone that was starting up a practice, what would you recommend? So key takeaway was just to read leadership books. Oh, well,
that would be one, but really the number one thing when you're starting out, if I was to start again, I would document everything. So every time you decide exactly what you want to happen, from even just the simplest thing, from answering the phone, what do you want to convey to the client? What's the experience there? When someone first contacts your clinic, what do you want them to be told? What do you want them to be asked? What information? And document everything so that when new team members come along, doesn't matter which process it is in the clinic, everybody knows what's meant to happen. Nobody's left to their own devices or to not knowing what they're supposed to do, but really documenting and having everything in on our intranet site, but having all the processes for the clinic clearly documented for everyone. Yeah,
your SOPs, getting them all in line so everyone knows exactly what they're doing, standard operating procedures. Now, I'd love to hear what's the future plans with you guys. What's on the books?
Well, I suppose really the way forward for us is that I'm just continuing to develop our leadership team. So I'm really just teaching the clinical directors and the practice manager, just teaching them everything that I've learned along the way, and really working towards, having a team of leaders. So that's what I'm doing, is I'm really training the clinic directors to to build amazing teams at each of the sites. And we're just at the other end of the spectrum, and probably one of the main things we do is developing our fellowship program, which has been running for 7 years now, where we provide an opportunity for those young OTs and physios who want to get into hand therapy. We provide a 1-year training program for them, and we employ them for the year, and through that year they have 1 day a week where it's just learning. So it's just teaching teaching those early career therapists and giving them an opportunity to get into hand therapy, and teaching them everything that they need to know to become a competent hand therapist within that 12 months. And that's a process that's continually evolving and improving our program. So they're the things that we're working on.
Awesome. That's really interesting. And that's pretty much all I've got for you, unless there's anything that you would love to touch on. But it's been awesome having a chat with you today.
Well, thank you very much, Lockie. I've got nothing else to add, just to say that I'm very grateful to you for having me on today, and also just to my team at Melbourne Hand Rehab for doing the amazing work that they do every day, and the team at Clinic Mastery as well for supporting me through my leadership journey.
Awesome. Thanks very much. And I'll get this all over to you. Cheers, guys.